Let me ask you something, and I want you to really think about this for a second. Have you ever reached that moment, that peak of pleasure, that intense climax, but then noticed something felt different? The sensation was there, the build-up was there, the release felt real. But when you looked down, there was little to nothing there, no fluid, no visible ejaculation, just emptiness. And in that exact moment, a question probably hit you harder than the orgasm itself. Is something wrong with me? If that's ever happened to you, even once, you are not alone. And if it's happening more often, and you've been quietly worrying about it, maybe even avoiding intimacy because of it, then this conversation is something you need to hear. Welcome to Real Talk Bedroom. I'm Dr. Chloe Anderson, and today we're going to talk about something most men are too uncomfortable to admit. But it affects more men than you think, especially as you cross 40, 50, or 60. We're talking about what's known as a dry orgasm or dry ejaculation, that confusing experience where you feel climax, but there's no semen, or almost none. And let me say this to you clearly, right now. This is not the end of your masculinity. This is not the end of your sex life. And this is definitely not something you should feel ashamed about. What it is a signal, a message from your body. And today, I'm going to help you understand exactly what that message means, what causes it, when you should be concerned, and most importantly, how you can take back control of your confidence, your performance, and your peace of mind. Because here's the truth most men never hear. Climax and ejaculation are not the same thing. And once you understand that, everything starts to make sense. So stay with me, because what you're about to learn could completely change how you see your body and your sexual health. Now let's start by breaking something down in a simple, real way. All your life, you've experienced orgasm and ejaculation as one single event. You get aroused, things build up, tension increases, and then release. Pleasure, followed by ejaculation. It feels automatic, natural, predictable. But behind the scenes, your body is doing something much more complex. Your reproductive system is like a perfectly coordinated system. Your testicles produce sperm. Your seminal vesicles create a fluid that nourishes and carries that sperm. Your prostate adds another layer of protective fluid. All of this combines into semen. And when you reach climax, your body triggers a series of muscle contractions that push that fluid forward, out through the urethra. That's ejaculation, but the feeling of orgasm, that intense pleasure, that part comes from your brain and nervous system. Two separate systems, two separate processes, working together, most of the time. But when something changes, they can become disconnected. And that's when you experience a dry orgasm. You still feel the pleasure, you still reach climax, but the physical release of fluid doesn't happen the way you expect, and that's where confusion begins. Because for most men, ejaculation is not just physical. It's psychological, it's tied to identity, to performance, to masculinity. So when it disappears, even temporarily, it can hit you emotionally in a very deep way. You might start thinking, am I losing my ability as a man? Is my body failing me? Will my partner notice? Will this get worse? And some men, instead of asking for answers, they stay silent. They avoid intimacy. They carry that worry alone. But here's what I want you to understand. In most cases, this is not dangerous, but it is something you need to understand, because there are specific reasons this happens. And once you understand the cause, you take back control. So let's talk about the most common reason this happens. And this one surprises almost everyone. It's called retrograde ejaculation. Now stay with me, because I'm going to explain this in a very simple way. Inside your body, there's a small muscle that acts like a gate. Think of it as a switch. When you reach climax, this gate is supposed to close tightly, so that semen moves forward, out of your body. But sometimes, that gate doesn't close properly. And when that happens, the semen doesn't go forward, it goes backward into your bladder. So you still feel orgasm, you still reach that peak, but instead of seeing fluid, it's redirected inside your body. That's why it feels like a dry ejaculation. And here's something important. This is not harmful in most cases. Your body simply releases it later when you urinate. In fact, some men notice their urine looks slightly cloudy after sex. That's a sign of retrograde ejaculation. Now the question is, why does this happen? One of the most common reasons is medication, especially medications used for high blood pressure, prostate issues, or certain nerve conditions. These medications can relax that gate muscle, and when it's too relaxed, it doesn't close properly during climax. Another major reason is prostate surgery. If you've had surgery for an enlarged prostate or related procedures, the nerves controlling that muscle can be affected, and this is very common. But here's the key thing. Your ability to feel pleasure is still there. Your ability to have an erection is still there. Your sexual function is not gone. It's just mechanically different. Now let's talk about the second major cause, and this one is more about blockage. Think of your reproductive system like a series of pipes. Fluid is produced, and then it travels through these pathways. But if something blocks those pathways, the fluid can't come out properly, even though your body is producing it. This can happen due to past infections, inflammation in the prostate, or even small internal blockages. In these cases, you might notice changes over time, less volume, thicker consistency, or mild discomfort during orgasm. And here's the good news. Many of these issues are treatable, sometimes with medication, sometimes with minor procedures, but the first step is awareness. Now let's talk about something deeper, something that affects not just your ejaculation, but your entire identity as a man, your hormones, specifically testosterone. Testosterone is not just about sex drive. It controls your energy, your mood, your muscle strength, your confidence, and yes, your sexual function, including semen production. As men age, testosterone levels naturally decline, and when they drop too low, everything slows down. You might notice less desire, weaker erections, reduced intensity of orgasm, and yes, lower semen volume, or even dry ejaculation. But here's the mistake many men make. They think it's just aging. They accept it, without questioning it. But low testosterone is not something you should ignore, because when properly diagnosed, it can be managed. And when treated correctly, men often experience a complete transformation, more energy, stronger libido, better performance, and improved overall well-being. Now, I need to say something very important here, because while most causes of dry ejaculation are manageable, there are situations where you should not ignore it. If this change happens suddenly, without any clear reason, or if it comes with symptoms like pain, blood in urine, loss of sensation, or difficulty with erections, you need to see a doctor immediately, because in rare cases, this can be linked to nerve issues, diabetes complications, or other underlying health conditions, and early detection matters. Now let's talk about something that doesn't get enough attention, the emotional side of this, because this is where the real damage happens, not in your body, but in your mind. Many men start to feel embarrassed, ashamed, less confident. They begin to avoid intimacy. They overthink every sexual encounter. They worry about how their partner will react. And slowly, their confidence starts to drop. But listen to me carefully. Your masculinity is not defined by the amount of fluid you release. Your ability to connect, to feel pleasure, to give and receive intimacy. That is what matters. And many men, once they understand what's happening, actually become more confident, because now they're not guessing. They're in control. So what should you do from here? First, don't ignore it. If this is happening regularly, get it checked. A simple consultation, a few tests, can give you clear answers. Second, look at your lifestyle. Manage your health. Control blood pressure, blood sugar. Stay active, because your sexual system is deeply connected to your overall health. Third, communicate. If you have a partner, talk about it. You'll be surprised how much pressure disappears when you stop hiding. And finally, understand this. This is not the end of your sexual life. In many cases, it's the beginning of a deeper understanding of your body. And when you understand your body, you gain control, confidence, and a completely new level of intimacy. This is what we do here on Real Talk Bedroom. We talk about the things men are afraid to ask, but desperately need to understand. I'm Dr. Chloe Anderson, and if this helped you even a little, make sure you subscribe to Real Talk Bedroom, because your confidence, your performance, your health, they all start with knowledge. And before you go, I want you to answer this honestly. Have you ever experienced this, even once? Because your story might help another man feel less alone. Take care of yourself, because your body is not failing you, it's talking to you. And now, you finally understand what it's saying.